When teaching about paying for college and student loans, I think it's really important to take some time and teach students or talk with students about ways to get free money for college. Hi, my name is Amanda Volz. I am a personal finance teacher at St. Clair High School in St. Clair, Michigan, and I'm here to give some teacher tips on how to use the activity Researching, Finding Scholarships and Grants. Under the Paying for College unit, there is an activity titled Research, Finding Scholarships and Grants. And this is a very applicable activity, particularly if you have juniors and seniors in your class. What this activity allows them to do is exactly what the title says. It's really just giving them time and resources to find free money or find scholarships that they might be able to apply for or they might be qualified for. Again, I usually use this in my credit unit, which also houses paying for college and student loans and debt. And I just feel that in talking about all the massive amounts of student loan debt that we have, it's important to give students resources and time, especially time, to find some free money for college. So the activity is great in the fact that it has students sort of scaffold down to finding actual scholarships that they might be able to apply for. So the first the first part of this is looking at strategies on how to find different scholarships and grants. The second part of it is looking at scams, which is really important for them to be able to see signs that this scholarship or this opportunity might be a scam. Part 3 helps them narrow down what they could look for. I really like part 3 because it also gives me some background knowledge on the students. So that way if I come across a scholarship, I might think, oh, this would be relevant or helpful to this particular student. So I really like that part just for my own, when I come across things, I can pass them on to students. And then the bulk of the assignment is part 4, where they actually search for scholarships that they can apply for. My biggest teacher tip, actually I have 2 with this assignment. I've used it for many years, and I feel I teach 12th grade students. I have a handful of 11th graders mixed in, and I really feel that the 12th graders, especially if you're using it in the early part of your school year, find this to be very helpful in kind of kickstarting them, thinking about scholarships, thinking about things that they can apply for during that school year. So my tip for this is to add some local scholarships into the mix. So what they do in part 4 is they search for, I think it's 10 listed here, or at least I require my students to find 10 scholarships that they could apply for and they are qualified for. And down at the very bottom of this activity, there is some sites and some resources to help them find some grants and scholarships. I think the time that you give students to actually do this is important, but the other important aspect is the resources that they have. Some students just don't even know where to start when looking for scholarships. So a lot of these are more national, like FastWeb, etc., where they might have to create an account to search for them. So if you have any local like Rotary, community foundations, etc., we have those in my area. I always add those to the list. So my suggestion when you're rolling this out with your students is to add some of those local scholarships to their list also. Even if they're not quite open yet, it's something that they could put on their list or on their radar and apply for later. The other thing that I do is over the years, I've transferred this part 4 to an actual spreadsheet that looks a little something like this. And I titled it Scholarship Tracker because what I noticed is I used this in the beginning of the year and a lot of students were referencing it later in the year. So I turned it into a spreadsheet only for the fact that some continued on. They did more than what the assignment was. So keeping it part of the assignment, sometimes that gets lost in their other work. So by putting it into the spreadsheet, it's something that a lot of students saved and tagged, and they just kept going. And they kept track of all of their scholarship opportunities and where they were at in the application process within the spreadsheet. The last thing that students do is then they look at what their step-by-step plan is or what their plan of action is if they're going to apply for one of these. I don't require my students to apply for a scholarship in this assignment, but I at least give them the resources and the time to look for them. The other teacher tip I have is what if you have a student who's not going to college? Because not every student has that as their path, which I completely understand. NGPF has another activity, and I'm back in the NGPF website. And under units, I tend to go through their units to find the activities. In their career unit, right here, They have sort of a similar activity, which is called research finding job openings. So if I have students that are not going to college, that's not their path, them taking the time to look for scholarships is not really time well spent. So what I'll have those students do is complete this activity right here, and instead of looking for scholarships, they're looking for job opportunities based on maybe the certification or the area that they have interest in. That's typically how I'll separate the activities because I want them to use their time wisely. Speaking of time, my classes are about 55 minutes in length. In this scholarship search or the job opening search, whichever path that they're doing, will typically take at least 2 class periods of mine. Sometimes it will lead into 3 if students are really trying to find scholarships that they can apply for and that are helpful to them. So I like the activity. It's a real world helpful activity for them in finding some free money for college.